Welcome to Purpose Project. My name is Leslie Pagel, and I am so glad that you are here because we have an unbelievable story to tell. We have Rahma Diallo, who shares with us a simple question of asking, why me? And how this simple question can lead us to discover our purpose and live a meaningful life. Let's take a listen. Rahma, thank you so much for being here with me today. I'm really looking forward to learning from you and learning more about you on the topic of purpose. I am so delighted that you said yes to this and would love to just start by learning a little bit more about you. Who is Rahma?
Who is Rahma? Well, thank you for having me. And as I introduce myself, my name is Rahmatoulaye Diallo. I was born and raised in Guinea, which is in West Africa. I moved to the U.S. in 1997, so almost 27 years now.
Yeah.
Coming up August. I went to IU, a Kelly School of Business alumni. My background as far as career is finance and accounting. I have 3 kids. I'm very passionate about helping people because I feel like I was given a gift coming from where I come from to be able to pursue my dreams and as such.
Right.
So I'm really passionate about paying it forward in a way, as you guys say it here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I learned that we share one thing in common already, and that is we both graduated from Indiana University.
Yes, IU Hoosiers.
How did you get to Indiana University?
I moved to Indiana in 2007.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I've been here since 97. I lived in Richmond, Virginia.
Oh.
And then California.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
I
So moved from Guinea
Yeah.
to Richmond.
Yeah.
And then moved around in the States.
Yes.
Ended up in Indiana,
Yes.
going to Indiana University.
Yes.
And then, well, yeah. What
This is
brought you
life.
Okay. Yeah.
This is home now. I have my 3 kids here.
Uh-huh.
My career is here. My home is here. And I have a lot of family members now that live here.
Really?
So Indiana is home now.
Nice.
I'm a Hoosier. I've lived longer in Indiana than I've lived in my native country.
Yep.
Oh, there you go.
Oh.
Yeah.
So thank you for sharing the historical background. I want to dive into why we're here today.
Yes, absolutely.
And let's start with the basics. Do you feel like you've found your life's purpose?
At this age, yes.
You do?
Yes. It was a process, but as I sit here, I am 100% sure.
Really?
that I
Okay.
found my purpose.
What is that?
It's to help young girls back home pursue their dreams. I'll give you a little background.
Yeah.
So that, since that's like a little bit in a nutshell. Where I come from, when I was growing up, at least, it was 80 to 90% poverty.
Okay.
So basically, education wasn't attainable for a lot of people, a lot of families. Especially if you're trying to feed, to get food.
Right.
Was, do I eat or do I go to send my kids to school?
Right.
And so 90% of the population was really poor back then. And I was one of the fortunate ones who could go to school. My dad was an engineer. He was a geologist.
Okay.
So I've always felt like that was a gift because, as they say, by the grace of God, there goes I. I mean, 90% of the population is poor.
Right.
Why is it me?
Right.
That's like I was born into a family that could afford to
Right.
send me to school, afford to send me overseas. There has to be a reason.
Yeah.
I mean, I could have easily been from a family that was probably poor and couldn't send me to school. The other thing is, if the families usually could send, and let's say they have a boy and a girl, they will prefer to send the boy because it's a very conservative country. So the boys end up becoming men that will have to take care of their families, whereas the girls will end up being married off early. So
Right.
it made sense
Yeah.
to invest on the boy than the girl.
Yeah.
Coming over here and realizing I was given that gift to
Right.
pursue my dreams, not being married off early,
Yeah.
and not being cut. Like, I don't know if you are familiar with female genital mutilations.
I am not. No.
That's another thing that plagues a lot of African
Wow.
countries,
Yeah.
not being part of that. I felt like I had to pay it forward. And the only way I feel I can do that is by being involved with organizations that can that help.
Right.
But today I really want to start my own organization
Okay.
because I really know the country, the
Right.
culture, the tribe. I know how I will be a better vessel
Uh-huh.
because I know the
Right.
culture. But that is why really my whole purpose I feel like is to go back home, or not even just back home, but to start back home
Uh-huh.
and reach out to kids, mainly young girls, help them go to school, help them pursue their dreams, and
Right.
then get to a point where they can realize whatever they dream of.
Right.
Yeah.
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 Wow.
A lot to unpack. Huh?
It is. As you were talking, I I felt in my body this
Yeah.
gift that you were describing,
Yeah.
and this questioning of like,
Why me?
why me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It could have been me easily.
Right.
Right?
Right.
But I was born into a family that could, my dad was an engineer, so he could send me to school.
Right. Right.
But 90% of the population is poor.
Right.
Why not you?
Right.
Yeah?
Talk to me a little bit about that family dynamic, because your father made different decisions.
Yes. It's interesting too because he has a unique story. He was in the village, never been, he was 7 or 8, never been to school.
Okay.
So that was during colonization. We haven't had our independence yet.
Okay.
And one of the French admin came to the village and I don't know what he was doing, but my dad had built a little, using wire copper, built a little car, and he was running around just wearing his little short, and he for some reason got a liking or took interest to my dad, and somehow whenever he would come weekly started talking and realized, oh my God, the kid is bright. So convinced my grandmother to please the French guy let him take my dad and offer
Wow.
him education. So he was one of the few
s-
African kids who went to the French
Okay.
side of school. He was in the boarding school. That's how my dad got his education.
Wow.
So because of that, we all got educated.
Yeah.
He went on to university in Paris, majored in geology,
Okay.
mining, and went back home and worked. But because he was also able to travel and see the world, he knew that educating his daughters will be tremendously,
Right.
it will be something to do because he saw, like in Paris and Moscow, that women were being educated and working.
Right.
So he wanted that for us.
Wow.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So,
That's another why me.
yeah, yeah. And my grandmother was like, my grandfather was against it.
Okay.
He wasn't, understandably, he wasn't trusting of the Europeans. But my grandmother was like, no, I want him to go to school.
Right.
And they fought about it, but she won eventually.
Oh, yes.
I think he's the only one of 24 kids that went to school.
Really, really. And has that changed
Oh,
since?
yeah, now it's changed. Since
Yeah.
that, he put 15 kids to school.
Wow.
I'm one of 5. My dad had 5, but he put 10 of his nieces and nephews, with my mom, of course,
Oh my
to
gosh.
school. So
Yes.
we're like very educated
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and going back to your purpose, this started
Way before I was born.
with the Frenchman that
Yes.
sees your dad.
Yes.
Yes.
And gave it and felt something.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. You talked earlier about how discovering your purpose has been a process.
It is. It has.
Walk us through what that has looked like for you.
Well, again, it's moving to the US and just having all these opportunities given to me, and knowing that I could just shape my life however I wanted, but always in the back of my mind, I was aware of where I came from,
Uh-huh.
the environment. When I say environment, the whole country, like
Right.
I was aware that again, it's always, it could have been someone else. I could have been home, married off at 13, 14. But it was until I think I was about 25, 26, I heard someone speak on paying it forward. And then it clicked that, hey, okay, maybe this is a gift. And that
Right.
maybe God or whoever made me
Uh-huh.
is using me to reach out to one more person who hopefully will reach out to one more person. And then when I started talking to my dad about, hey, Dad, tell me about your childhood. And I realized that he was given a chance, that I was here in the US
Yes.
because someone gave my dad a chance to go
Right.
to school.
Right.
I was like, I need to
You could be that
definitely-
person.
Yes.
You
He
are that
really
person.
cemented
Yes.
it. Like, it doesn't have to be big, but
Right.
if I can just get one kid through school, then I feel like
Right.
the process, it's a full circle,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yes.
And then I started being involved with different organizations. There are a lot of organizations out there that sponsor kids.
Okay.
$30 a month, you're able to feed 7 people. You're able to send kids to school. A lot of organization, but because right now I feel like at 48, okay, I feel like I'm ready to take that big step of the second journey. I want to do something that's meaningful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I've raised my kids, I've had the career,
Right.
but now I really want to dive into this.
Oh.
See if I can do, maybe not just one kid, maybe a little
Right.
bit more. But yeah, that's the whole process, It's just hearing the idea of paying it forward,
Right.
being explained, and then realizing someone gave my dad a chance.
Right. Yeah.
Like, okay,
Right.
okay.
Yes.
A full circle.
It is this like multiplier,
Yes.
someone with your dad, he puts 15 people
Yeah.
through college.
Yeah. One of them is a neurosurgeon in Belgium.
Wow.
Yeah. One of them is a head engineer in Lake Mead,
Wow.
Las Vegas. So they went on to be
Yeah. Yeah.
these people, these amazing careers.
Yeah.
I mean, I want him to write a book, but
Right.
he said, oh no, it's okay.
Yeah. Someone told me recently that you don't always know the impact that you have.
Yeah.
And this story is bringing that really clear to me.
Yeah.
That while we can trace through this, understanding the full impact of
Exactly.
what that Frenchman did, what your
Yes.
dad did, what
Yes.
you're doing,
Yes.
is beyond what we're able to
Yes.
quantify.
Exactly. And it's not just me. Luckily, all the other kids, they all somehow, some way are involved in helping out.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like we all grasp
Right.
that we were the lucky ones.
Right. How often do you go back to Guinea?
I try every couple of years. The last time I was there was 2021.
Okay. But in your efforts here are to help the children in Guinea? Is that
My ultimate effort will be to help anyone all over the world who wants to study. But because I'm much more familiar with Guinea,
Yeah.
I am starting that.
Yeah.
Even if it's a small, just to get into it first. But as I expand, I will really just, because I know like in Asia, Middle East, somewhere in Latin America, I've met a lot of people with like, yeah, education is not easy
Right.
for certain people. And here in the U.S., education is probably, the debate is, do I move to a better school
Right.
district?
Exactly.
It's not that whether you
get it or not.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's, do I move to buy a house in a better school district so
Right.
my kids can go? No, but there it's like, do I eat?
Right. Or do I go to
Send my-
school?
yeah.
Yeah.
And most of the time, you have to eat, you have to school. And it's not even that expensive.
Yeah. Yeah. So what are you doing now? 'Cause so you're at a point in your life where
Yes.
you're like, okay, I'm ready to transition
Exactly.
into spending my time towards more meaningful things.
Yes.
What does that look like for you today?
So, for the past couple years, few of our, we call it the diaspora, but few people from Guinea, we all are you educated,
Okay.
and formed an association.
Did
Where,
you?
yes.
Yes.
where
Okay.
we each given $30 a month,
Uh-huh.
and we pick out a project. Like every couple of years, we pick out a big project. So far, we've refurbished a whole school and set up the school like a computer room for the school. We've gotten school supplies. And these are the far-reaching villages where it's like
Wow.
non-existent. Our latest project, actually, which is ongoing now, is we are renovating the maternity ward and the children's hospital in a far-reaching village. So, but that's just us contributing $30 a month the last
Wow.
3 years. And it's not even, we're like 50 people all
Right.
in all. So,
Yeah, you
Few
said
months-
it's not that expensive.
It's
I mean,
not.
in the grand scheme of things.
yeah, a couple $1,000 will get you so far back home. We've gotten wells. Now you just go to this roundabout and get your water, you're home. But again, with that, I don't know, that little wanting to do more, I expressed to them that we should not only form a non-for-profit organization, a 501c, and then see about starting to reach out to different organizations,
Right.
getting partnership, getting help, making it bigger.
Right.
And that's when I am with Amy. She's the one who's doing the research as far as the paperwork, the legal
Okay.
paperwork.
Okay.
And,
Amy is a good friend of both of ours.
Yeah, she's an amazing human being. Talk about compassionate people. She's one of them. But we're taking it to the next level.
Okay.
Yeah.
So she's helping with setting it up as a legal entity,
Yeah.
the nonprofit.
Yes.
And then you're organizing through the group that you established
Yes.
years ago through Indiana University.
No, we are all Indiana University alumni.
Okay,
Yeah.
alumni. Okay,
Yeah,
that
we all
came
went-
together.
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
and so you're working through them to
Yeah,
grow
to grow.
more of a nonprofit.
Yes.
that is focused on.
Well, focus on helping out back in Guinea,
Uh-huh.
but I've also told them that we should set up an outreach program out here for the youth, and maybe a scholarship program for the kids. In because we all went to IU, maybe it's for kids who are going to IU, say like the Guinean community
Oh, yes.
of Indianapolis scholarship. Because eventually also we have our own kids here.
Yeah.
And like me.
That's right.
Yeah. So even though we want to help back home, we have kids who are dealing with issues that most American families are dealing with, anywhere from drug issues to bullying. And so we want to be also able to help all the kids here as
Right,
well,
right.
not just focus our energy at
Yeah,
home.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So when you wake up and you think about your day and your purpose, how does that feel inside for you?
It when I think about the possibilities and the adventure that this journey, I don't know. I feel like I'm looking forward to life. Is that weird?
No,
Like
it is not.
I've lived. I'm almost 48. I've lived, but it's just this feeling like I am alive, excited, but in a way that's like, yes, I know on my last day on this earth, if this is happening, I would say, yes, I lived a meaningful life.
Oh,
And yet I've done well so far, but this
right,
will be,
right.
to me, I feel like it's honoring that French guy that gave my dad a chance. It's honoring my dad because he's helped so many kids. But it's just knowing that I can give someone an opportunity to dream big, and it feels amazing. I'm excited, truly excited.
Yeah. I get the whole alive thing. I'm going through a similar thing with this purpose project.
Okay.
And I feel like it's brought me to life.
Yeah.
I also feel things like uncertainty and fear. Do you have those feelings too?
Not so much fear, but definitely uncertainty. Because and the uncertainty is not so much of me being capable of the people I have been doing this with being capable. It's more like the political climate back home. It's always unstable.
Okay.
You see, 2 years ago, we had a coup. So it's very unstable in
Right.
on that side. And when that happens, it shuts down everything. They could easily jam the internet and you don't have any way to communicate with people. They could stop your project, the government. It's a little bit dictatorial in a way, but
Okay.
so that to me is where my uncertainty will lie.
Got it.
Like, are we able to set this up? Will it take
Right.
time? Will it take a lot of effort? Yes. There's no doubt about that. But once we are up and running properly and we go home and then, or you're transferring money back home and then it's like you go to the bank is like, we don't have internet. We can't do
Yeah.
any wire
Right.
transfer, or the
Right.
everything is shut
And
down
it's-
because of some kind of, I don't know, coup. So that's where the
Right.
uncertain for me
The
is.
things out of your control.
Exactly.
I mean, that's all out of your control.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's bound to happen, so we consider it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So planning for that, yeah,
Yeah.
is a part of just bringing
The
more
whole-
certainty too.
Exactly. But to me, that is it. It's not so much fear. I feel like because I've been with this group for a couple of years, I feel calm and I feel, what's the word I'm looking for? Confident about the way it's going. But yeah, there is always
Yeah.
that little
Yeah.
uncertainty that can pop up.
Yeah. Your purpose feels to me really big. It feels monumental. Does it feel that way to you?
No, because I feel like if I can just help one person, which
Right.
to me is doable.
Uh-huh.
So it's doable. I guess I'm seeing it as one kid at a time.
Right. Exactly. It's the framing of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Because it's yeah, I cannot do it at the level of, these big organizations. But if I can do it one kid at a time or one project at a time, like we've been doing it for 3 years, then yeah, I don't feel like it's big.
Right.
Because it's still small.
I love that. Starting with the little things, like
Yeah.
starting with what can I do right now to make progress.
Exactly. I'm one of those people, if you throw too much at me, I will be overwhelmed. So breaking it down all the way until small steps.
Yes.
Then
And your brain works that way naturally?
Yeah, naturally.
Okay. Yeah.
So if you when we started, I was like, okay, I know where we want to be, but let's do what we can right now. Well, let's start slow. And I mean, it's been 3 years.
Right.
But again, just our contribution.
In 3 years, you've
Yeah.
already done a lot.
A lot.
So one thing we can all do is just look for the little thing, the next
Yeah.
step that we can take.
Yes.
What is that for you? Do you have it all mapped out?
Well, the way I have it in my mind, but I want to say this is me and a few others, so everybody has something to do. But we're setting it up, and eventually we're partnering with different organizations that are pushing us through. So once we set up, really, it's just to start reaching out to different companies, then slowly but surely
Right.
start raising funds, raising supplies, or anything that we can raise and utilize back home.
Right, right. And when you look out into the future, let's say whatever the furthest horizon for
Yeah.
you, what does that look like?
Oh, going home and seeing kids, hopefully building a school, a full school from the ground up, fully equipped, solar panels so that there is electricity, have a canteen so the kids can eat. They don't
Yeah.
have to worry about, oh, I didn't have breakfast. And just kids who are studying,
Right.
thriving. That's the vision I have.
Yes.
Schools. I know education nowadays, that's the way
Right.
out of poverty. That's the way out.
Yeah.
I would love to have a fully running school.
Yeah. You lit up. Like I could just see this. You saw this vision and
Yeah.
it just came out of your face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am really passionate about it. It's, again, I keep saying it's what gave me the
Right.
life I have.
Right.
It's what gave so many other kids in my family
Yeah.
the life they have.
Right.
So to us, education, that's the surest
Right.
way
Right.
to lift yourself out of poverty.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I would love to have,
Yeah.
well, even revamp the whole school system if we're
Yeah.
dreaming.
Yeah.
But to me, it's just to be able to say, this school, walk in and
Right.
see kids learn, kids hearing. I mean, I can hear the kids right now.
yes.
I can visualize kids playing soccer. It's in my head.
Right.
Yep.
So I imagine people are watching this and they're thinking, I can imagine that too, and I want to help Rahma.
Yeah.
What can they do? How can they help?
Well, they can reach out.
Okay.
My email.
Okay. I'll put that in the show notes.
Yeah.
I also imagine that people are going to be listening to this and feel a connection to their purpose. What advice do you have for them?
My advice will be to, first of all, figure out what it is that you're really wanting to do in this life.
Yeah.
When you're gone, what is it that you want to be remembered as? What legacy do you want to leave? And I think when people hear the word legacy, they're thinking bigger families. But a legacy could be one little thing, a person that
Right.
you've impacted in this world. That's your legacy.
Right.
It doesn't have to be grandiose.
Right.
So just think of that. When I leave this planet, did I leave it in a better place? Will someone know I came? Will my life, my action, will that have been meaningful or
Right.
impactful in a good way to even one person?
Yeah.
Or an animal. Again, just find what you're passionate about.
Right. Yeah.
What is it that you're passionate about?
Right. Yeah.
It's not easy.
I've wondered if passion and purpose are one of the same.
To me, I feel like it is. Because of my personality. If I'm not passionate about something, my mind, no matter how hard I try, I will not be interested. Like
Yeah.
it has to grab me in
Right.
a way. But Some other people could find it differently, but that's how I see it.
And I do think if someone is looking for their purpose, a place to start could be what lights you up. What are you
Yes.
passionate about?
Yes.
Yeah.
And again, it doesn't have to be big. It could be small. It could be planting a tree. It could be just feeding a cat. Small. But if it makes your life meaningful, then that's
Yeah.
your purpose.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I like the advice that you shared about to understand a meaningful life, think about at the end of it
Yes.
and
Yes.
ask yourself, how do you want to be remembered?
Yes.
And did you do those things through your life to be remembered in that way?
Yeah.
And if not, then work on those.
Yeah.
Do the small things.
Yes. I want to look back when I'm on my deathbed and say, I have lived well.
Yeah.
And for me, living well is to know that I was of service.
Uh-huh.
I helped, because otherwise, what's the point?
Yeah. And I love that you've been intentional and even thinking about that, because
Yeah.
it's a little scary to think about. We don't
It
really
is,
want to
isn't
think
it?
about the end of life.
Yeah. But that's how I at least imagine, like, things that I want to do now going forward. It's when I'm on that day, that's what I want to make sure it's all meaningful. Yes, when you're younger, you see life, you got it. You have to do the careers. If you want to have kids, you have to raise kids and all of that. But then you get to a point where, like, okay, I got another 10 years, then I'm retiring.
Yeah.
And then what? So
Yeah.
let me start now. So by the time I'm completely out of it, I'm living that life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How often do you think about that, this end of life question?
Well, not that often.
Yeah, okay.
It's just as I'm getting closer and closer to 50, closer to retirement in a few years, I'm thinking, what do I do in my second part
Right,
of the journey
right, yeah.
of this life?
Right.
I want to be heavily involved
Right.
as much as I can in what I am super passionate about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah. I'll have a lot of time coming up in 15 years.
And if I am betting, you will have made a lot of progress in 15 years as well.
I've given us a 1 year to set up the entity. I'm the
Okay.
goal oriented.
Okay.
Like, we have 1 year, we need to be up and running within a year.
So I love that, because having milestones, doable things
Yes.
within it.
Yes.
We have talked about your purpose, how you discovered it. And one of the things that stood out there was this defining moment of the pay it forward and how that shifted in your head. We've talked about things that you're doing now to realize it, the support you have, the breaking it down to pieces.
Yes.
Is there anything left unsaid about the topic of purpose?
I think other than just we all have it, really.
Do you believe that?
Yes, I do. I think we are as a community, we're here, like the world, people in general. I feel like we all have a role we're playing.
Uh-huh.
And I feel like we all have a very distinct purpose.
Uh-huh.
Yes, some might not realize that, some might realize that because of different circumstances, but I really do believe we all have a purpose. And just finding that it's the start.
Right, right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Finding what light that bulb in your head is a start.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And finding that brings what? Why find it?
So you know why you're here.
So you know the meaning of your life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I read a book on people who were towards the end of their lives.
Uh-huh.
And the one common trait that I have noticed is that everybody looks back and say, I wish I wasn't too focused on my career.
Right.
I wish I've done more service.
Right.
I've helped out a lot.
Right. Yeah.
So that's why I believe we all have that purpose
Right.
in us.
Yeah.
And
And
if you
yet-
do find it, it's meaningful.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
was going to say, and yet, like you said, we all have this purpose, and yet so many of us get stuck by
we do.
just going through what society tells us we're supposed
Yes,
to do
yes,
and not always what we're called to do.
yes. And when you're younger, that's okay. I feel like it's okay to pursue your career dreams and stuff, but balance, I feel like balancing it out. But yeah, a lot of people don't get to that level
Yeah. Yeah.
because society, yeah.
Right. Yeah.
It's
So we talked about finding purpose in your life and the reason and what that gives you. That gives you meaning. What
meaning,
does meaning in your life give you?
happiness, contentment.
Happiness and contentment.
Yeah.
And
And I hope to inspire my kids that
yeah,
that they will see it and say, you know what, we need to keep moving this thing
right.
forward. But to
Yeah,
me, it's happiness.
right,
I'm truly, because when I'm in the meetings or when we're planning, it's I am so absorbed by it,
right,
but yet feel so light.
right.
I walk
Yeah.
out smiling like, yes, we will do this.
Oh,
But or maybe I'm just too
yes.
naive.
Yeah. Purpose gives us meaning. That gives us happiness,
I think
contentment.
I think if you're living a meaningful life, there's no way you're not going to be happy. At least that's my belief.
Yeah. Yeah. I got goosebumps on that one.
There's no way
Yeah.
because you're doing what you in an essence what you want to do, what your
Exactly.
soul wants to do.
Right. Right.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
too much.
I'm going to breathe into that one. I love it. Anything else on your mind to share?
Let's all be kind. Let's all just be kind to one another. You don't know what that person is going through, but just even if it's a simple smile, it reminds them there is humanity left.
Exactly.
So let's just all be kind to one
Yes.
another.
Yeah.
Take it easy on ourselves as well. But that's it. Find what works for you and do that. It doesn't have to be conventional. Forget about society
Right.
ways. If
Yeah.
it makes you happy, gives you purpose, do it.
Right. When you were talking about being kind, and I was just thinking about coming back to where we started about paying it forward. If we're all sharing kindness,
Yes,
that multiplies as well.
it does. It
Yeah.
trickles down. And it's so easy to do.
I am walking away feeling inspired about your purpose and what I
I'm
can
glad.
do to support you in that. But also just thinking about what I can learn from you. And
But thank you so much for having me.
absolutely.
I enjoyed the conversation actually. Hopefully some of your listeners will be inspired as well, like you have. Will walk away feeling like they can do it. It's not impossible.
Right.
And if anything, a little bit of kindness will take us a long way.
That's right. That's right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rahma, and thank you all for listening. Wasn't that an incredible story about the multiplying impact that can happen when we pay it forward? It reminded me of episode 5, Do It Even If You're Scared, where Geneva Shaw Mims talks about when we live our life of purpose, it helps with generational learning. And Rahma's story is a perfect illustration of that. While we won't know the full impact that our purpose will have in this world, one thing is clear to me after listening to this conversation, and that is that our impact can reach far beyond our imagination. How can you pay it forward in your life? Thanks for listening. Purpose Project is brought to you for education and for entertainment purposes. This podcast is not intended to replace the advice that you would receive from a licensed therapist or doctor or any other qualified professional.